Hi, my name is Larissa Kaiser, and I'm the founder of Jill, a Women Plus in Translation reading series that spotlights women and/or non-binary translators, or translators of women and/or non-binary authors, or both. Jill began as a live bi-monthly reading series in New York City in 2019, but it's now gone online, which is actually really exciting because it means that we get to accept submissions from translators who are not only in the New York City area, but also all around the country and in many cases all around the world. Going forward, we will be posting a new video of a translator reading on our YouTube channel every week on Wednesdays. So if you have work that you're interested in sharing, either work in progress or a really polished work, something that's published, something that's unpublished, it's entirely up to you, please get in touch. You can find out more information about the series and how to submit at jillreadingnyc.com, or you can email jillreadingnyc at gmail.com with any questions you might have. So now, please enjoy the reading. Thank you.
Hi all, my name is Cristy Stiles. I am a French-English translator based in Los Angeles, and today I'll be reading an excerpt of my translation of the story The Enigma of the Bend by Aude. Aude was the pen name of the French-Canadian author Claudette Charbonneau-Tissot. This story comes from Contes pour hydrocéphales adultes, or Stories for Hydrocephalic Adults, which was published in 1974 and was the first of her 15 published works. In this story, we're plunged into a world of violent conspiracy and dueling secret societies that may only exist in the narrator's mind. All of the stories in this collection feature women narrators in the process of losing their minds, rendering the tropes of 1970s kitsch and domesticity into tools of violence and horror. I'll be reading a brief excerpt from the French language source text, just to give you a feel for Aude's long sentences and complex rhythms, then a longer excerpt from the translated story. This story will be appearing in the forthcoming issue of The Stinging Fly, which is a fabulous literary journal from Dublin, so you'll have to get a copy to see how it ends. Sorry. So here's L'Énigme du Coude. Il me sembla avoir déjà vécu dans quelque antériorité cette situation exacte. Il me revient même que la première fois, cette impression de déjà vécu s'était aussi greffée au fait. À nouveau, je fis bouger légèrement sa main dans la mienne pour que se produise le petit miroitement sur le nacre de ses ongles. Je passai doucement le bout de mon index droit sur l'un d'eux. Je lui demandai si elle avait déjà dit ces paroles auparavant, dans d'autres circonstances, mais tellement identiques à celle-ci que si on découpait soigneusement la scène présente, son croquis coïnciderait exactement avec celui de l'autre scène, que je ne pouvais non seulement localiser, mais dont l'existence même était douteuse. And here's the Enigma of the Bend. It seemed to me that in some past life I had already experienced this exact situation. I even recalled that the first time, this feeling of déjà vu had also been grafted onto the actual course of events. Once more, I turned her hand gently in mine to create that slight shimmer on her mother-of-pearl fingernails. I stroked one of them gently with the tip of my right index finger. I asked her if she had already said these words, in circumstances different from these, but so identical that if you meticulously cut out the scene we were currently enacting, its outlines would coincide exactly with the other one. But I was not only unable to pin down when it had happened, I doubted its very existence. She said no. I insisted. She said no. She withdrew her hand and buttoned the top of her thin knitted shirt, which she was wearing for the first time because we had only bought it the previous day. But my memory had recorded it long before, as if by some power of clairvoyance that came into play only after our ecstatic couplings. Elsa brushed her fingertips over my cheek, then left the room. I drew the wide-toothed comb through my hair and brought it close to my face so I could feel its faint static pull. The air must have been dry. I put down the comb and went back downstairs to join the others. As soon as I appeared, M offered me a drink, which I took and brought to my lips without taking my eyes off him, waiting endlessly for his face to thaw. I drank slowly to give him enough time, but when I put the empty glass back into his hands, his face was still frozen. My gaze followed the tip of his nose, crossed his forehead, and stopped right at his hairline, where, if I picked with my fingernail, something would lift, that I'd only have to peel off a little more before I could tug both sides at once to remove the mask that grew back over and over like snakeskin. But I didn't lift my hand, and I left him in the belly of the boa. Just to the right of his ear, but in the background, Elsa entered my field of vision without knowing it. M grew blurry. I didn't open my mouth. I didn't even make any movements that would spread my scent around the room like a message, but Elsa still turned abruptly towards me. The lips of the man facing her kept moving. Hers stretched until that sharp stop when the dimple on the left side of her mouth, slightly swollen, couldn't be hollowed out any further. M exited my field of vision. Someone came between Elsa and me, and I had to refocus my perspective. He gave me a drink. I didn't know him, but I quickly scrutinized his hairline. I didn't see anything. He must have been cut from a different cloth, unless he just had a subtler knowledge of the art of concealment. Foreseeing this possibility, I withdrew deep inside myself and waited patiently for him to come to me, leaving enough distance between us for the dugout trap I knew he would inevitably fall into, like the others, before he even came close enough to feel my breath. The drink had already been given. There was no doubt that feverish excitement would follow, imperceptibly at first, like the movements of a mouth forming a smile, as if that were a required preparatory exercise for the articulation of those stereotypical words he would say without the least surprise or unease. Then there would be the inevitable pause provoked by the presence of cigarettes between us, at the end of his arm, which nothing could have predicted, because his attention was seemingly elsewhere, but which would nevertheless be there, waiting for my fingers to approach and create the first contact between us. Via this intermediary, at first, probably to avoid the possibility of too violent a shock. But I'd do what I always did. I was never going to make the expected movement, and my hand would stay resting on my thigh as my interlocutor insisted and leaned even closer to me, teetering on the edge of the trap that, to my astonishment, stayed empty because the man in front of me did and said nothing. Thank you.